how you became Shah Rukh Khan hardcore fan?
DDLJ was the first film I saw in theaters. There was a moment in DDLJ where Shah Rukh stretches his arms and Kajol comes running to him. Something very transcendental happened where I fell in love with the man on screen.
एंटरटेनमेंट जर्नलिस्ट का काम क्या होना चाहिए और क्या अब हो रहा है?
We are definitely getting a little carried away with the access. This is a story that I think I need to tell you. So, हमारा शाहरुख खान के साथ इंटरव्यू था. So, the publicist of the film came in front and said, guys, last 10 minutes, either we do selfies with him or you ask one question. 90% of those people in the room said they want a selfie.
बॉक्स ऑफिस को कलेक्शन को भी मैनिपुलेट कर रहे हैं लोग.
There will always be a discrepancy between producer's number and trade figures. Hindi film box office reportage has become 95% accurate.
बस स्टोरी रन डाउन की थी कोई. उस स्टोरी से एक बहुत सेट पे करने वाले काम करने वाले इंसान को उसका वापस पैसा मिला था.
I was in PTI when the pandemic had set in. We did a lot of stories about what will happen to set workers. All the big people of the industry came in together, tied up with people who were helping on ground and made this happen.
आजकल मैंने देखा है काफी जर्नलिस्ट ना बहुत बायस्ड भी हैं लोगों के साथ.
There is a natural bias in all of us for certain people. Your job will be to not let that show in your work.
Justin, first of all, thank you for being part of Impact Stories. And Impact Stories run down to these raw stories only. And I think you're the great guest for it.
Yeah, I'm really raw right now.
Raw writer, yeah. Yes. So मुझे पहले I want to know how you thought of being, because मुझे पता आपको बहुत clarity थी day one से कि मुझे यही बनना है. तो इतनी clarity कैसे होती है? हमें तो अभी तक नहीं पता करना क्या है.
नहीं Ankit, I think I'm stubbornly boring in terms of my clarity. I grew up in Nagpur in a railway quarter because my mother was in the railways. She was in South Eastern Railway. She was a controller.
And Northern Railway, my father was there.
Perfect. Yeah. So, and my father was a journalist. So I grew up in a railway quarter where and my mom was a huge fan of Bollywood films and my dad was, of course, a huge fan of films as well. So I grew up in an environment of news plus movies. Where at my place in Nagpur, we would get 30 newspapers every morning, English, Hindi, Marathi, from not just from Nagpur, but also from like Bombay and Delhi. So that used to be my childhood. And at some point, I just knew that I had to be a journalist, but I also was tilting heavily towards films. So I think it was around 8th standard when I told all my friends, and family came later, but I told all my friends that I will be an entertainment journalist working in Bombay. And my clarity was quite stunning. It was that I'll go to Bombay, I'll work there as an entertainment journalist, I'll hopefully build some credibility to the time, or at least till a point where if I have some stories to pitch in terms of film screenwriting, I will have enough people and filmmakers and writer friends of mine who will give me 2 minutes of their time. So the idea was always to be a journalist, but also to be more than that, to be basically a storyteller. And this is 8th standard that I'm talking about. I just knew that I want to do this, I want to do that, and this is where it'll take me. I think I did grow up with a lot of boring clarity. I just knew what I wanted to do. I stumbled. Of course, I failed. I took a wrong course. All that stuff happens. You take the wrong turn, but I did reach, or at least I'm on the way still to where I want to see myself.
But still you believe in manifesting also?
Oh, absolutely. Like, Ankit, I had, the way I believe it, I'm not even a percent of whatever I do want to achieve, but I had no business to being big in a railway quarter of Nagpur while I was watching Shah Rukh Khan spread his arms in Switzerland. But because he was in Switzerland spreading arms and I was watching him on my TV, it felt like if he could do it, I can do it as well. And I think that was the initial spark of ambition. Of course, this spark of ambition also comes from my father. He was a journalist in Nagpur, and at some point he wanted to go to Mumbai and work, but he couldn't because his family needed him to be in Nagpur. So his best friend moved to Mumbai and started working, and he was left back in Nagpur because he had to take care of the family. And I think that repressed dream of him not being able to go to Bombay was passed down onto me. And I remember when I told him that this is what I want to do and I will be in Mumbai and that's where I want to say, he was the first person to pat my back.
How you became Shah Rukh Khan, this hardcore fan?
It does come from my mom, I think. The funny story is, even till today, if I ask my mother, who is Shah Rukh Khan to you, she blushes. I say, is he your brother? She gets angry. I said, then who is he? She still doesn't tell me what Shah Rukh means to her. But I think this sort of having your own mom love Shah Rukh Khan this much, I think it did translate into me. And also, DDLJ was the first film I saw in theaters. I mean, at least that's the memory. That's the earliest memory that I have of watching a film in cinema hall. And I remember, Ankit, this wonderful moment where there was a moment in DDLJ where Shah Rukh stretches his arms and Kajol comes running to him. Now, as a child, I have a very strong visual imagery. When he did that, and I'm talking about a cinema hall in Nagpur, maybe it was Smriti Talkies, where Shah Rukh did this, and the entire cinema hall erupted. I looked at my father, and he was smiling, and I looked at my mother, and she was beaming, and everyone around me was just like euphoric. This is a memory that I do remember, and I felt that, is this all it takes to do in life? Like, I think all you need to do is find a kid, get a girl, and spread your arms, and everyone will just cheer for you. So I think my Shah Rukh memory dates back to that core childhood memory of where I not only identified, at least now I can think I identified, but I think I identified the power of cinema, what it did to a young child like me, what it did to people around me, because they were all hooting and clapping when Shah Rukh was doing that. And also I think in that moment, something very transcendental happened where I fell in love with the man on screen. So yeah, Shah Rukh has been a part of a major, ambitious side of mine.
There's a two sides of the story, right? One, when you see somebody on the screen and you get attracted to them. But एक बार क्या होता है ना, when you meet that person in person, फिर आपका ना थोड़ा सा थॉट प्रोसेस बदल जाता है. जैसे काफ़ी लोगों के साथ हुआ है. वो एक लाइन भी है कि नेवर मीट योर, हाँ, डोंट ट्राई टू मीट योर हीरोज, राइट? बट क्या शाहरुख खान से ऐसा है? आपकी मुलाकात हुई है?
Yeah. So it's crazy. When I moved out of Nagpur, I went to Chennai to study a journalism course. I was in Asian College of Journalism, and as part of the course, we had to write a dissertation, and the limit was 8,000 words, and I wrote a dissertation of almost 9,000 words on the cinema of Shah Rukh Khan, just analyzing what he did in the 90s till the early 2000s. And I wrote it, and I printed it like a book with a proper cover, and Shah Rukh is holding a slate with my name and the title on it. And the title of the dissertation was The Ladies' Man. And I printed that dissertation, and this is 2015 when I passed out of ACJ. Then I was immediately hired for a job in Mumbai. I remember meeting Shah Rukh 2 years after. I think this is during the promotions of either Jab Hari Mein Sejal or Raees, or maybe Jab Hari Mein Sejal. It was a long interview. We had to wait for 6 hours to talk to him. That's the usual wait time for Shah Rukh Khan. I remember it was 2 in the night when he finally got free. And I had the copy of my dissertation with me, and through some friends who were working with him, I gifted him that copy, and he signed it, not just addressing me, but addressing my mom and dad. And I think he didn't even know what that moment would have meant, because I come from a history where Shah Rukh mattered to me because it mattered to also my mom and dad. He flipped through the pages of the dissertation, he started blushing, and then he took a pen, and he said, to Janet and Joseph, my mother and father's name, to Janet and Joseph, you have a lovely son, and wish you all the best. And I think that moment meant a lot, because me meeting Shah Rukh Khan in that capacity was a huge milestone for my family. He didn't know that. And he didn't have to address my mom and dad by name and sign that copy. But I think the fact that he did that, unprovoked, without me even hinting that what it means for my family, I think that was a wonderful moment. I always remember that. And that copy still is with mom and dad at Nagpur.
Pure.
Yeah. Yeah.
That means both the on camera and off camera, both the things are similar. It's magical both the ways.
It is magical. But see, here's the thing. I was meeting him as a journalist, and I think it is interesting here to sort of give you this piece of trivia also, that there's only this much fanboying that you can do. What I mean is, you can be a fanboy when the camera is not rolling, perhaps. Right? When you have done your duty. I remember it was maybe around the same time, or because he had a lot of films coming out that year, Jab Hari Mein Sejal, Race, etc. And I remember Ankit meeting him for the interview. And this is a Shah Rukh Khan phase where he was not doing well at box office. When some of his films were underperforming, there was a lot of chatter that...
The pressure, he was under pressure.
Yeah, there was a lot of chatter that why is Shah Rukh Khan films not working? And I, as a journalist, I was in that room. Now, he's someone that I grew up idolizing, and I definitely, not idolizing, but definitely he was my favorite. But in that moment, I'm also a journalist, and I need to ask Shah Rukh some tough questions. And I remember that moment, he was sitting exactly where you are. The distance between us was lesser than this. And I kept, the first few questions were little softies, right? Like, you just prep.
But you have to come down to that question also where...
so I was prepping up for the interview. So, but see, यहाँ पे ना, there is a Shah Rukh Khan angle to it, but it's important for me to tell you here that I met him in the capacity of a journalist. मैं वहाँ पे काम कर रहा था. I think ये जब हैरी में सेजल या रईस की बात है.
And you have to ask the very tough question also.
Correct.
पूछना ही था वो तो.
Correct. And just for context, this is the time जहाँ पे Shah Rukh Khan की films उतनी ज़्यादा नहीं चल रही थी. A lot of his films were underperforming. And there was a lot of chatter that Amir ki films are doing better, Salman's doing better, what's happening to Shah Rukh? I mean, he's trying, but nahi ho raha hai. And I remember being in that room just to interview him, and we were sitting exactly like this, lesser distance. And we started the interview. First few questions were a little softy, just to warm up. But I had this in the back of my mind that I need to ask, because I'm not here for anything else. No selfie, no dissertation, no fanboying when on duty.
आपको अपना job भी करना था.
Job ही करना था.
बिल्कुल.
Like, nothing else matters. I'm here in this moment not because I'm a fan, but because I'm a journalist. So that's the only thing that matters. And I remember, Ankit, I was sitting in front of him, and at some point I asked, Shah Rukh, you were attempting, but these films are not working at the box office. Whereas your contemporaries, Amir and Salman, have been doing films. This is the time Bajrangi Bhaijaan, Dangal were all coming. Big films, right? And some of the Shah Rukh Khan films had not been working that well. And I did ask. And I was constantly also thinking that what if he gets angry, right? Not just from a point of view of a journalist, but also point of view of
a human,
of someone, someone who you have loved for so long, and you're like, yaar, I don't want to upset that person, right? That's the feeling. You never want to upset the one you love. And I was trying to be very, like, can I soft land the question? But I asked, and he answered. Shah Rukh answered. Shah Rukh took a pause. It was a dramatic pause, but then he answered outstandingly. He said, I'm Shah Rukh Khan. I don't want to compare myself to anyone else. Why would I want to be XYZ when I'm me? And then he gave me a good 10-minute long answer. But the fact here is that even if you meet this is especially true for entertainment journalists, I think, especially today, that a lot of them, when they meet their stars or their heroes or their ideals, whoever, I think sometimes some of them do forget that they are journalists first. I think you can only...
biasness नहीं आनी चाहिए.
बिल्कुल भी नहीं. Like, you cannot be a fanboy in front of the camera. You can be indoors, privately, in front of my family, but not when I'm on the job. So I think a distinction, also I think a distinction in my case comes definitely from a certain privilege. I grew up watching my father work this way. He was a journalist who would cover crime, politics, sports, etc. in Nagpur. And I would see how he talks to people in power. There is, even if he may not agree with them, even if he is not friends with them, but when it comes to anything professional, he was absolutely thorough professional. So I think that distinction started from the childhood. There should always be a gap in a to do your job. Like अगर वो gap नहीं होता, for example, वो मैं शाहरुख को शायद वो सवाल नहीं पूछ पाता. Wasn't like it was some big national breaking news सवाल, but it was important for him at that point of time in the career. And it was exactly what people were accusing him of. Sort of not accusing, but blaming him of that you were not firing at the box office. So for him at that point of time in his life, that was the biggest question. How can you not ask? Like that's the point.
एक ट्रू एंटरटेनमेंट जर्नलिस्ट का काम क्या होना चाहिए और क्या अब हो रहा है?
नहीं, आई थिंक एंटरटेनमेंट जर्नलिस्ट का काम वही.
क्योंकि डेफिनेशन बहुत अच्छी थी, बट विद टाइम इट इज गेटिंग, वो बायसनेस की बात भी आप जो कर रहे हैं, हाँ वो भी है.
Also because बहुत कुछ बदला भी. I think entertainment is just a section. A journalist should be a journalist. Like I think the same ethics I should have if I'm covering a businessman tomorrow or a sports personality. I think a lot of times I can only speak on behalf of my generation right now. Is that we are definitely getting a little carried away with the access. Like for example, this is a story that I think I need to tell you. Again, Shah Rukh, because the biggest example here. So, हमारा Shah Rukh Khan के साथ interview था for one of the films. And this was in Mehboob Studio, Bandra. And it was a long interview, 1 hour, 30 minutes long. And by the time we were nearing the end, I think last 15 or 10 minutes बाकी थे. And one of the team members, one of the publicists of the film, came in front and said, guys, and these are like 30, 40 entertainment journalists sitting in one room and Shah Rukh is sitting where you are. And this publicist comes and says, guys, last 10 minutes, either we do selfies with him,
okay,
or you ask one question. Now, the journalist in you should not give a damn to that selfie, because how often will you meet a Shah Rukh Khan? You should ask. 90% of those people in the room said they want a selfie. We couldn't ask a question. We went for a selfie. That's the problem with entertainment journalism right now. Selfies can happen later. Can absolutely. And I think if you're good at your job, if things align, you will get it if that's what you want. But you were not there to get a selfie. You were there to ask. And I think if you trade your question for a picture, that's why we're in the gutters. Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, तुम honest कहो फिर. You want a selfie, ना? You are not there to ask. Asking is additional. कि हम पूछ लेंगे, कुछ हो जाएगा. But that should be the primary. Selfie can be additional. How can that be your goal? That's the problem, Ankit, right now.
एक मेरा बड़ा interesting सवाल भी है. These, I think you know better than anyone because you are behind the lens. वो बॉक्स ऑफिस की कलेक्शन का जो आजकल वो चल रहा है ना, जो भी चल रहा है कि बॉक्स ऑफिस को कलेक्शन को भी मैनिपुलेट कर रहे हैं लोग. तो मैं चाहता हूँ कैसे और क्या है जो मतलब बहुत बड़ा चार्ट मेकिंग हो गया है, ये भी चार्ट बस्टर की, और भाई इतना फोड़ दिया, बट सच में ऐसा है?
नहीं, see, most of the times these numbers are mostly accurate. Now, by accurate, I mean there will always be a discrepancy between producers' number and trade figures. For example, अगर producers का claim है that our film did 100 crores, for example, maybe the trade figures will be somewhere around 80. So that 10-20% or crores ka gap has always been there. But I was talking to various producers, in fact, right now for a story that I was doing. And the sense that I got was that Hindi film box office reportage has become 95% accurate. Now, of course, there are times when we hear that there are producers who are pumping in their own money to buy tickets and stuff like that. That's something that even I keep hearing.
But is it true?
In some, it's not a blanket thing. It's not at all a blanket thing. It's not like every producer is doing it. It is true for some producers. And see, so much of it is also the pressure of box office, right? We need to understand that the box office is the only barometer through which the next film will be greenlit. The star can charge more. The producer can strike a better deal with one of the OTT platforms. If the film doesn't have good box office, all these three pillars will come crashing down. And if they crash, then what will you do? To safeguard this, some producers have tried to invest their own money in their own films to show the box office getting better. And then they claim that our film is a hit so that they'll get a better deal on OTT, the star will charge better price, and etc. But it's not a blanket thing, if you're asking. That's not what's happening across the board. Some people definitely have indulged, but also, in fact, now that you and I are talking, and by the time the podcast is out, I think it'll also be lessened. Agar, for example, if we have 4 producers doing it, by the time this goes out, there'll be 3 or 2. This will decline. This is a fad. Someone thought
with time it will
this
come
can
and
be
go.
manipulated.
Yeah.
They did it. Now it's getting caught. They'll stop. It's
Why I
simple.
asked this question? Because there was a very interesting case was going on. Divya Khosla and Alia Bhatt was something on it. She claimed that okay, she's buying ticket for the जो भी उनका film आया है. Was it true?
No, I don't think so. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
And why she was doing this? Because
No, see, I don't know what was happening between those two. But as far as I know, nothing of that sort.
wait,
was
this is a
on-
big claim.
It was. It was also like in terms of that particular allegation, it goes back more than that. Like I think the bigger concern there was, I think Divya had done a similar film on jailbreak. So she felt, or maybe the team felt that we had done a jailbreak film before. Jigra has come in after, and we had a better film, or you have a.
ये तो होता रहता है फिल्मों में. मतलब ये कोई पर्सनल जाने वाली चीज थोड़ी है.
Yeah, and but see, this is also part of the industry, right? One needs to understand this is a very, very high tension, extremely daunting, insecure, competitive position. ये जितना अब जो है भी जितना glitz and glamour and privilege है, there's money, but वो बात सही है, but ये उतना ही competitive है, and वो इसलिए because यहाँ पे आपकी failures भी public है. You and I can fail in our private lives. Maybe your family, friends, people will know 10 people, my 5 people. Not beyond that. Your failures will never be made national headlines.
Right.
Film actors, they do. Like if Alia's film Jigra, which didn't work, it was the talk of the town. Alia has flopped. Jigra didn't work. Is Alia overrated? Have we given her too much privilege? And is this easy for her? Shah Rukh Khan is not working. Amir Khan, I mean, Amir after Dangal, he had 2 releases, Thugs of Hindustan and Thugs didn't work, and Lal Singh Chaddha didn't work, and people just wrote him off. That he's done, he can't bounce back. I mean, he's Amir Khan. Of course he'll bounce back. He's given legacy films. Wait, these 2 films didn't land. But see, your point is, these are high stakes business where your failures are turned into spectacles, and that spectacle is put on national television for people to enjoy on a daily basis. It's like you travel in local and metro and people will know, हाँ ये शाहरुख की पिक्चर बन गई, वो आलिया की पिक्चर है ना 8 करोड़ ही कमाए, वो अच्छी नहीं चल रही है, या अक्षय का फ्लॉप फेस चल रहा है. And people will never talk about any other industry. I mean, sportsmen, of course, because their failures are also very public. So there are very few industries where your success will give you a lot of privilege, but your failures will just drag you down. And in between, if you do all of this, I think it's fair. If you feel like you will let out some steam by doing this.
मैंने शायद किसी से मेरी बात होती है और she was telling me about this instance कि आपने एक बार स्टोरी रन डाउन की थी कोई जो उस स्टोरी से एक बहुत सेट पे करने वाले काम करने वाले इंसान को उसका वापस पैसा मिला था.
Yeah.
If I'm not wrong. Was it the same?
No, this is a story I'd done for Indian Express.
Okay. मतलब इतना पावर होता है, मैं कहना चाह रहा हूँ एक जर्नलिस्ट का अगर वो करना चाहे अपना काम पे.
बिल्कुल होता है. मतलब this is a film बड़े मियाँ छोटे मियाँ where some people had alleged that उन्हें पैसे नहीं मिले थे. And for Indian Express, I'd written a story talking to those people, whoever didn't get their money. And I think most of them have gotten their money now. I think there was some production, कुछ disturbance थे, so they were not getting the money. With this person, उनका पैर fracture हो गया था. He was in the hospital. He needed money, and उसी वक्त में वो story कर रहा था. And I wrote about him that he wants his pending 1.5 or 2 lakhs of money. And when we went live with the story, people from the industry reached out. And one of, I can't name because it was already on record. Tiger Shroff reached out to him and gave him money, whatever he owed. And Tiger was part of Bade Miyan Chote Miyan. Not that Tiger didn't know that there were other people who didn't get money. He perhaps who would have read the copy, and he reached out. He gave that person that money, and that was it. So, I mean, that's what I mean. It happens. If you report the right stuff, there are people in the industry who will benefit, because there are also people in the industry who really want to help. As much as we have issues of insecurity, of non-payment,
That is one part of
that is also there. But there are also good people like Tiger Shroff. The narrative would be what? That, a Nepo kid, ये तो insider है, privilege है. Sure, he comes from the Jackie Shroff family. He may have a certain...
But still, he's a very hardworking man, if I'm not wrong.
More than that, Ankit, he showed up when it mattered. When his crew, when he learned कि मेरे crew को पैसा नहीं मिला है, one of the people is in hospital, he needs to pay bills. Tiger Shroff did that. I think that's what matters. Whether he comes from a film family, Nepo kid, Nepo baby, outsider, all that is a larger discussion which doesn't really concern the person at hand. The person who needed that money to pay that hospital bill doesn't care if Tiger Shroff comes from outside or inside.
Right.
He wants
Human
the
side
money.
to thana
Yeah, that's what. And Tiger Shroff showed up for that moment, and we went ahead and we wrote it that Tiger paid the bill, which he did. So there are definitely good people in the industry, because the noise sometimes makes it seem like everyone is evil.
Negativity is always louder.
It is louder. And definitely it's louder in case of the Hindi film industry, because I think definitely if you go back in time, in the pandemic, when some of the films of Hindi, like of Bollywood, were not working, and the narrative was Bollywood is over, it's finished, and kuch nahi ho raha hai, and South films are working. I mean, one part was true. Sure, those South films were working, but they were also working because they were the bigger films at that point of time. None of the big films of Hindi films had come out by then. And the entire 2-year period of negativity was just like, Bollywood is done. It's done. No one's going to watch it.
That was there in the papers, yeah.
Yeah, but it didn't matter. Here we are talking about the Hindi film industry still, and 100 years later, some 2 other people will sit across a similar table and talk about similar stuff. It's not going anywhere. But it has phases. That's for sure.
Similar kind of story, if you have run down to any story, which is कोई पावर ऐसा लगा आपने काम करते वक्त, जब आपने अपना काम किया ऑनेस्टली, कि यार नहीं, मुझे फील होता है कि जर्नलिस्ट का पावर है. Similar case we were talking about, na, we wrote a story from Indian Express, right? Similarly, ऐसे कोई incidents हो जब आपने कुछ...
Yeah, it was during the pandemic. And a lot of my colleagues in Press Trust of India, PTI, and Indian Express, tab I was in PTI when the pandemic had set in. We did a lot of stories about how, what will happen to set workers. What will happen to those people who are constructing your sets, who are spot boys, who are... who don't come from that privileged cushion. Who will pay them? And that's an important story, because most of us were cushioned in our house, watching, discovering world cinema, making banana bread. What about them, right? And not just these 2 publications. I think most of the entertainment publications did that story. What happens to those who don't have money? And that changed the game. Not because of that, but again, industry. Rohit Shetty stepped in. I mean, Rohit Shetty, Shah Rukh, Salman, name everyone. All the big people of the industry came in together in different capacities, tied up with people who were helping on ground, and made this happen. We had cine associations who were helping those people. We had actors who were giving in money to various organizations to help facilitate this. It mattered. And people kept writing. Like, I do not remember, Ankit, a single publication covering entertainment which didn't have this story. Everyone reported almost on a weekly basis that what will happen to sport boys, what will happen to set dadas, what will happen to the carpenters, what will happen to XYZ. And all of them were covered. The association stepped in majorly, and they did it. Yeah, that's what matters, I guess. Perhaps, maybe, for example, when everyone was indoors, what would Pabs do? Who would they click? And we didn't realize, because it's so common. Pabs so ghumenge. But what if everyone is indoors? How will they function? And so many people from the industry, from owners of publicity firms to actors, they reached out and they helped them, the Pabs. Because they also know that this is their work. Sure, Pabs can cross a line sometimes, and all that is fair criticism. But mostly all these Pabs know these stars as well, and stars know them in and out. So naturally, when they stopped, when their work was affected, the industry stood up for them.
Any story you have done which is you are very proud of? कि यार मतलब ये story मैंने की तो अच्छा है यार मतलब.
No, I mean, I'm proud of certain stories, but I think definitely this one, the one about non-payment of crew members in Bade
This is
Miyan
the
Chote Miyan.
we are done with. मतलब कुछ और ऐसा कि यार मुझे
See, because this is
because journalism is very vast ना. हम लोग we are talking about only one part, but ऐसा
Yeah.
होता है बहुत
See,
जगह.
I'll tell you, there is stories to hair, but there are certain pockets in which film journalism comes alive. For example, there are certain questions that I'm definitely proud that I did ask. Like, for example, there was a Salman Khan press conference, and this is during the time that this is a Race 3 trailer launch, and this is in PVR Andheri here. And just, I think, days before that, his jail sentence had come in, and everyone was talking about now what will happen to Salman. And I remember attending that press conference, and this is a time when माइक्स दिए जाते थे जर्नलिस्ट को सवाल पूछने के लिए. आजकल नहीं होता है, आज कोई एंटरटेनमेंट जर्नलिस्ट सवाल नहीं पूछ पाता बिकॉज माइक्स ही नहीं आते हैं, बट उस टाइम पे आते थे. एंड मुझे अभी भी याद है वो सवाल, सलमान, शाहरुख, आमिर, these are like powerful people, big people, but I think a few of us were wanting to ask Salman Khan that what happens now, like we're getting jailed, what about all the films? And I asked him that what about your future? And he said, are you scared? I said, I'm not scared. He said, neither am I. Like, whatever has to happen will happen. After I asked that question, I remember a lot of people came to me and said, you're gone. Like, how dare you ask?
Question.
But I'm like, but he was chill with it. Salman answered in the most chill way. He doesn't really give a damn. It's most of the time the people around the entourage who get very tricky. And I said, one has to ask. इसमें कुछ गलत नहीं है. So there are times when your asking becomes more important than offending people. And I think that I'm quite proud of that. It's just not me. There are a bunch of us who regularly have been for 10 years asking the right questions. And I think that's what matters.
But ऐसा भी तो है, काफी actors only screen पे बहुत अच्छे हैं, but in person they are not that good as a human being. जो expect जो होना चाहिए.
It could be like it could definitely be the case, but I don't meet them behind the doors. So I have no idea. And I think the golden rule of journalism, especially in entertainment, when you have access to Bollywood, to glitz and glamour, to dancing, to chilling with the stars, is to know the golden rule that they can be friendly, but they're not your friends. I think the day you recognize this, your career is sorted. Otherwise, dilulu. Otherwise, you'll be on some high horse that, oh, he's my friend, that person is... No, yaar, it's the chair. Like, for example, if I'm working with a reputed publication right now, maybe 10 stars would want to talk to me, or 10 actors would want to talk to me because I'm at a certain position. What if I leave that job and start my own YouTube channel or an Instagram page and ask them, they won't. And they're not wrong, by the way. Because dosti thodi na hai. And I'm also clear, they're not my friends, they're friendly, they will wish well for me, etc. But for me to expect that all those 10 people will also now come for my Instagram page, no, they will not. But the chair is important. This is important right now, not me. I think the day a journalist figures this, sorted.
But I know about this thing that you're very good at editing also. और आपको अनुराग कश्यप में शायद कुछ एक चांस भी दिया था, if I'm not wrong. What was that incident?
No, so I do these Instagram edits where I take film clips and I match them with
मतलब I don't know इतना clarity कैसे आपको मतलब बहुत.
See, I think it dates back to the storyteller. I do want to make films. That's the larger plan in the future. Oh yeah, you will have a film by me sometime in the future.
Perfect, then I'm meeting the right guy.
Yeah,
so I have to get casted somewhere.
So it is definitely the plan. So I think the storyteller in me was always craving. I mean, as a child, I would write stories in my books. And I would, I'm horrible at drawing, but मैं गंदी drawing बना के अपने posters बनाता था. And मैं खुद ही लिखता था, a film written by Justin Rao, directed by Mahesh Bhatt, for example. Yeah, गंदे yellow crayon से मैं लिखता था.
Again, manifesting somehow.
Yeah. And I had an entire book, वो अभी भी घर पे है, मॉम ने संभाल के रखी है, where I have posters after posters of fictional films where I am written by Justin Rao, directed by Prakash Jha, directed by Anurag Basu. I mean, I'm manifesting.
But you see, you're closer to your dreams.
Yeah. But see, again, like, I think clarity. Like, if you know what you want, you will not want anything else. And if you do not want anything else, a lot of the nonsense is already cut. You will only deal with this nonsense that you want, not others which are coming your way. So editing comes from that. Editing is just me. It's just basically the same thing जो मैं पहले करता था. मैं crayon लिख के posters बनाता था with my name, my film and a story. It's just basically on Instagram that I'm taking visuals from films, adding some retro songs, and I'm sort of giving them a new twist. It comes from the film bent that I would like to believe that I have. And I started this during pandemic. And because everyone was home, we had a lot of time. And a habit of mine I had was always to tell my friends that, yeah, imagine this song on that film, na? Like, imagine this song, but ye ho raha hai. And I think pandemic gave me the time where I thought, why to imagine if I can maybe just make it happen? If I can physically sort of cut the visuals, paste it on a song. And that's how I started. Because I had the time. And it started growing. Like, more people started following me, and some people from the industry. And at some point it reached Anurag Kashyap, and who's been a great champion and a very solid enabling force in most of our lives. And it was just last year where he recommended my name for a film festival. So I think it was last year when Anurag not reached out to me, someone reached out to me saying that Anurag has recommended your name. This is Los Angeles Film Festival. And that person said that he said you can make an edit.
For such a big platform.
Yeah, and मैं तो 1 minute के edits बनाता हूँ on Instagram, and that too for personal reasons. It's not even anything professional at all or commercial. I only make for myself and for my mom, because she keeps calling if I don't make one every week. So she said, we are having Vijay Sethupathi as the closing guest, and we need you to make a show reel on him. And I said, this is impossible because मैं phone पे edit करता हूँ. I don't even have a software. I just cut on InShot and मैं music डाल देता हूँ. They said, but Anurag has recommended your name. And I thought, yeah, now if it's coming from Anurag, then I can't say no. I said, okay, sure. So thankfully I had time. I had like 2-3 weeks, and I managed to make some show reel for Vijay, and that was played on the screen at the closing festival. And then Anurag reached out, said he really liked it. I didn't see that coming. But again, it goes back to the same point that I was making. There are good people in the industry. Anurag didn't have to do it. Like, technically, I mean, he's not my friend at all. We're friendly. Yeah, no. It's just it's an equation of journalist and a star. And more than that, an equation of trust. I think the trust in me from him about my journalism. Like, he values me as a journalist for sure. But it's not like I'm invited to his daughter's wedding.
Right.
No.
Right, I got it.
I don't go to house parties with him. That's not the equation. But the equation is professional.
Respecting each other's work.
Professionally,
right.
Definitely, Ankit, he respects me as a journalist. He respects me as a creator who can make decent edits, which is why he recommended me to that person. He make use of him here, which is why if he needs me to do a story, maybe he'll pinpoint me there. Justin, why don't you talk to this person? I'm saying this is when it matters. But that's about it, right? Friendly. Like, we'll meet with a lot of fondness and respect, but it's not like I'm part of that circle and dancing at his daughter's wedding. No. Even though I'm a very good dancer, Ankit. I think if I was invited, I would have done a great chaya. Yeah.
So, आजकल मैंने देखा है काफ़ी जर्नलिस्ट ना बहुत बायस्ड भी हैं लोगों के साथ, और मुझे लगता है अब तो डेफिनेशन ऑफ एंटरटेनमेंट जर्नलिस्ट बड़ी चेंज हो गई है. बायस इस हद तक है, मतलब वो कहीं भी सपोर्ट करने पहुंच जाते हैं. वो हाउ यू सी इट?
सपोर्ट समझा नहीं. व्हाट डू यू मीन?
मतलब मेरा कहना है कि अब ना कहीं ना कहीं फेवरिज्म है. आपकी जर्नलिज्म में भी आपका फेवरिज्म है, जो कि होना नहीं चाहिए.
Yeah. See, that is true. You're right. I think that's also because, Mr. Ankit, there is no formal.
Let me put it more better way. अब क्या है, लोग सोचते हैं कि अरे पावरफुल इसके बारे में लिखेंगे तो हमारी इमेज खराब होगी या फिर कहीं रिलेशन हैम्पर हो जाए. They're more worried about themselves, but they forget what the job is to do. Job is to write, because you don't have to make any. वही आपने जो बात बोली कि आपको दोस्ती यारी थोड़ी रखनी है. You have to come to the job.
Correct. It's a good question, and मैं एक चीज जरूर बोलूँगा. लोग ये करते हैं जरूर. There is a natural bias in all of us for certain people. ठीक है. I think even if you have 10 people, you will be biased to 2 or 3. Just by default. तुम्हें पसंद है यार, तुम क्या करोगे? Your job will be to not let that show in your work. ठीक है? That's the basic thing. कि if you are a podcaster, you have 10 guests, you naturally like 3 of them, a lot more. But doesn't mean कि it will be reflecting in your conversation. Right? That's the basic understanding. ये तो basic है. Similarly, in journalism, there does exist. Like, for example, there is, I love Shah Rukh Khan. But doesn't mean that my job will also scream that I love Shah Rukh Khan. Mera reportage shouldn't be saying that. My reportage should say that, boss, his films didn't work in those many years. What was the problem? Personally, I'm a fan. मैं शायद photo लगा के पूजा कर लूँ. That's up to me. My job should not reflect that. This distinction is getting blurred. If someone loves someone personally, their reportage will also dictate that. कि हाँ यार ये मतलब मेरे लोग हैं, I'll protect them. I think that's ridiculous. Problem थोड़ा institutional है यार अंकित यहाँ पे. I'll tell you why. This is the editors. Most of the editors, for example, let me just give you one example which I think will clear. There was a story that someone was trying to do few years ago. And so it was a very sensitive, big story. Entertainment journalism की बात कर रहा हूँ मैं. हाल फिलहाल की बात है थोड़ी. And a lot of us were chasing that story कि यार शायद हम कर ले या शायद हम वो सवाल पूछ ले. And हम तो सब बड़े publication से आते थे. But कोई एक छोटे journalist ने, by छोटा I mean एक छोटे publication के journalist ने जाके उस celebrity से वो सवाल पूछ लिया. And वो बहुत बड़ा celebrity था और वो बहुत important सवाल था. एंड मुझे अभी भी याद है, और ये मैं स्टोरी हर किसी को कहता हूँ बिकॉज दैट डिफाइंस एंटरटेनमेंट जर्नलिज्म. हम सब बड़े खुश हो गए. मैंने कहा यार तुमने वो सवाल पूछ लिया, कमाल की बात है. एंड ही सेड हाँ पूछ तो लिया बट मैं थोड़ा सा ना डरा हुआ हूँ. इससे डरना क्या है, लाइक इट्स ओके. हम मैं पूछने वाला था, ये वो पूछने वाली थी. ही सेड हाँ बट मेरे ना एडिटर को 10 कॉल आ चुके हैं अभी तक कि ये है कौन, उसने पूछा कैसे. अच्छा ठीक है. फिर उसमें यार मुझे लग रहा है मुझे ना निकाल दिया जाएगा जॉब से. Because ये वो कोई institution तो था नहीं. It was not like a legacy publication. These are your smaller YouTube pages, Instagram pages. And he said, मैं थोड़ा डरा हुआ हूँ. What if my editor removes me? बॉम्बे में वो लड़का रहता है, वो बॉम्बे का है भी नहीं, वो एक इनहेरेंटली छोटे से प्लेटफॉर्म पे काम कर रहा है, लेकिन उसने एक बड़ा सवाल पूछा. As an editor, the responsibility is no matter what, I'll protect this reporter. I don't think that editor did that. There was a lot of pressure. Maybe he was not sacked from the job, the reporter, but he was not even allowed to come on field. कि तो एक महीना फील्ड पे नहीं जाएगा, वो तुम्हें डेस्क में बिठा दिया. This is punishment. The reporter asked. It was the job of the editor/publication to safeguard that. जब मेरा एडिटर ही मुझे नहीं बचाएगा, जब मेरी पब्लिकेशन मेरे साथ नहीं खड़ेंगे, तो मैं क्यों रिस्क लो? We need to understand. I can just sit with you, Ankit, and again, this is which I keep telling that I am coming from a history of PTI, Indian Express, and right now where I'm working. But these are the big publications who have had my back. Ki no matter what, to lick, we'll take care of it because you are writing the truth. Not a lot of people come from that privilege, and because they don't, the easier way they feel is कि मैं यही लिख देता हूँ. Let me just write the good stuff, because if I write this, I will be thrown out. And it's not just editors here. It's not just publications. Also, a lot of times, publicists. We have major publicist teams here in Mumbai, in the Hindi film industry, who will not like if you ask a tough question to the client. What they'll do is, for example, if you were working at a platform smaller, and if I was working at a bigger platform, मैंने वो सवाल पूछा. चलो मैंने धाकड़ कर मैंने वो पूछ लिया. मैंने कहा कोई नहीं रोक सकता मुझे, मैं पूछ के रहूँगा. I will still be safe. The publicist will call me, how dare you? I said, no, I'll say, मैं उसे 2 गाली दे दूंगा, वो मुझे 2 गाली, मुझे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. Because my team has my back. ये सवाल आप पूछो. आपको वो इवेंट के बाद इनवाइट नहीं मिलेंगे, आपको कोई प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में नहीं बुलाया जाएगा, आपको माइक तो कभी नहीं दिया जाएगा, आपके हेड को कॉल किया जाएगा कि ये अंकित ने इतना खराब घटिया सवाल पूछा, इसको फील्ड पे मत भेजना अगली बार से. एंड बिकॉज आपका अगर प्लेटफॉर्म छोटा है तो वो भी कॉम्प्रोमाइज़ हो जाएंगे. उनको लगेगा नहीं हमें व्यूज़ चाहिए, अगर आप हमें बुलाओगे नहीं तो हम कैसे करोगे. फिर वो आपको बोलेगा कि भाई तुम जाओ, ये सवाल मत पूछना, आपकी वॉइस तो किल हो गई। ये हो, मैं ये नहीं मानता कि फील्ड पे जर्नलिस्ट नहीं है जो सवाल पूछना चाहते हैं। इनफैक्ट मैं मेरी जनरेशन की बात करूँगा, मुझे सिर्फ 9-10 साल हुए, मैंने तो कुछ भी बड़ा काम नहीं किया है, बट मेरी इस छोटे से एक्सपीरियंस से भी अंकित मैं बहुत लोगों को जानता हूँ जो बहुत बड़े सवाल पूछने की क्षमता भी रखते हैं, मौका नहीं दिया जाता। और मौके से ज़्यादा धमकियाँ दी जाती है, तुम पूछ के दिखाओ तो हमें इन्वाइट नहीं करेंगे, तो फिर तुम क्या करोगे? तुम्हें बॉम्बे में भी रहना है, तुम्हें रेंट देना है, तुम्हें शायद घर पे पैसे देने हैं, तुम्हें अपनी ज़िंदगी भी गुजार, फिर तुम्हें लगता है मैं क्या सवाल पूछे, छोड़ना, मैं नहीं पूछता।
बट आपको लगता नहीं इफ आई एम एन एक्टर, है ना, माय जो एक एक्टर की कहानी क्या होती है, उसे लोगों के बीच रहना पसंद होता है, उसे फेम पसंद होता है। फेम इज मीन्स योर प्राइवेट लाइफ आल्सो कैन समटाइम बी अवेलेबल टू पीपल, राइट? एक्सेस होता है सबको, तो एक्सेस का मतलब सवाल तो आएंगे आप तक, बिकॉज जब आपकी प्राइवेट लाइफ लोगों तक जाएगी तो आप तक सवाल आएगा ही। एंड बीइंग एंग्री एंड आस्किंग फॉर फेम एट द सेम टाइम इज रॉन्ग, इज बोथ, मतलब दोनों रोड समझ नहीं आई मुझे।
See, which is why you see another rise. The trend in the last few years is that the media access to stars have considerably gone down. They prefer directly talking to the fans through social media. वो ट्वीट कर देंगे, इंस्टाग्राम कर देंगे, या वो पैप हो जाएंगे. That's all. They are not favoring the traditional route of journalism anymore because they feel that this will land them into more problem. My thing is, and I understand, I also get their point of view because we have also had journalists who, again, I genuinely believe this, Ankit, it's not what you ask, it's how you ask.
How you ask.
तुम दुनिया का सबसे कॉन्ट्रोवर्शियल सवाल भी पूछ सकते हो, बट अगर तुम तरीके से पूछोगे तो शायद जवाब ज़रूर मिलेगा। मैं तो ये स्कूल ऑफ थॉट से आता हूँ। देयर हैव ऑल्सो बीन टाइम्स व्हेन पीपल इन द फ्रेटर्निटी हैव क्रॉस्ड द लाइन इन टर्म्स ऑफ नॉट जस्ट आस्किंग स्टूपिड, controversial, lame, disgusting questions, and that pisses them off. They will be यार हम क्यों कर रहे हैं? Why are being, मतलब तुम हमें स्टेज पे बुला रहे हो, माइक दे रहे हो और तुम ये घटिया सवाल पूछ रहे हो। That has also happened, by the way. It works both ways. But मुझे ये जरूर लगता है कि why does a journalist matter? मैं किसी एक शख्स से मिला था एक इंडस्ट्री में अभी रिसेंटली, और उन्होंने कहा था कि फैक्ट सबको पता है, जर्नलिज्म का काम है कॉन्टेक्स्ट देना। फैक्ट फॉर एग्जाम्पल ये कि पठान, फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर हम पठान की बात करें, शाहरुख की, कि पठान ने 55 करोड़ किए, दैट्स अ फैक्ट। उस टाइम पे वो फिल्म ने 55 करोड़ का डे 1 बिजनेस किया था। कॉन्टेक्स्ट मैटर्स। कॉन्टेक्स्ट इज वो 55 करोड़ क्यों इतना सेलिब्रेटेड था, बिकॉज उस 55 करोड़ के पहले वी हैड 3 years of absolute negativity for the Hindi film industry. We had negativity which said Bollywood is done. 3 years से भी पहले we had 6 years of negativity which said Shah Rukh Khan is over. Yeah. The industry went through gutter. There was negative campaign and we had all sorts of nonsense on social media. And in that gutter, if a film goes and does 55 crore, which is back then the biggest day 1 for Hindi films, that is the context. Fact, तो सबको पता है 55, but why does that matter? If actors or filmmakers today are not trying to talk to media for reasons which are okay with them, I get it. But the problem is, we'll not have critical thinking. We'll not have critical evaluation of their work which sets a context. काम क्या कर रहे हो सबको पता है, पैप कहाँ हो रहे हो सबको पता है, आप कौन से जिम जा रहे हो, कहाँ की कॉफ़ी पी रहे हो, we all know the brand endorsements. But is there a context to you? That will go. Because context context लाने का काम जनता का थोड़ी ना है. Audience will not do it. But audience will be, of course, informed by it through credible people in the media, through credible thinkers, like people like you and I, or not I, people like you and others. If we remove them, where is the context? And there is no fact without context. Context is the king.
Have you got any call? जैसे आपको थ्रेड कॉल मिला हो, कभी आपने ऐसी कोई कुछ किया होगा, आपके एडिटर को आया हो कभी?
नहीं एडिटर्स को आया, मुझे कभी नहीं आया,
बट कभी आप तक पहुंचा हो गया ऐसे किसी ने कॉल करा?
मुझे पता चल गया.
What was the incident? ऐसा कब हुआ?
I can't name the filmmaker.
Obviously.
He's a big filmmaker and written something about his film. It's a very big film, very big filmmaker, and I just did not like the film. And I wrote, which is fair enough if you don't. And I wrote like a scathing opinion piece कि यार ये घटिया है. Like it's and these are 10 reasons why this filmmaker is not able to make the film that we loved him for. And he's a loved filmmaker. And I've written it, and someone, I think his team called the editor, said, how dare this article has come out, and take it down. The editor had my back. They're like, we'll not. Because this is an opinion. How can we change an opinion? Opinion अगर change होगा तो press release है.
Press, yeah, बिल्कुल.
वो opinion है ही नहीं फिर. वो journalist का opinion कहाँ से रहा? He said it's his opinion and he has not written anything derogatory. He has made the points, he's justified the points in the copy, and it's an opinion piece. And it's not hitting below the belt. It's not classy. It's written as a critical piece. And she had my back. It didn't come to me. Because she dealt with it on her level. Which is where it matters. जो मैं आपको कह रहा था कि if you have stronger editors, you can do your journalism. अगर stronger editor ही नहीं है, suppose for example अगर मैं लिखता और मुझे बोला जाता है ये तुमने क्या लिख दिया, अब इसको change कर दो, इसको flowery कर दो, इसमें rose petals डाल दो, adjectives भर दो, तो शायद मुझे करना पड़ता या मैं जॉब छोड़ देता. But ये है reality है. My editor stood with me, which is why I kept doing 2 more stories after that, and this is where it has led me to.
I have a very interesting second last question to you. A lot of people don't know about this thing also. वो लोग सब आर्टिकल पढ़ते रहते हैं लोगों के बारे में. कुछ प्रेस रिलीज क्या होता है और सच और रियलिटी क्या होती है?
Yeah. So the word which has truly erupted in recent times is PR. ये
तो लोग कहते हैं उसके बारे में तो सब अच्छा आता है, आप कैसे बात कर रहे हो? So don't know that these are press releases. वो सब खुद से ही सब कुछ कराया.
Yeah. See, that's there. Yeah. Press release as a concept has existed for ages. And not even for Bollywood. ये तो हर industry में
इतना नहीं था ना.
सब industry में होता है. Like business से लेके politics, we have press releases. And the problem is, if you blatantly put out press releases, then you're not doing journalism. Like that's the point. प्रेस रिलीज तो ये भी होती है. लाइक फॉर एग्जाम्पल प्रेस रिलीज के 2 एग्जाम्पल मैं आपको देता हूँ. एक प्रेस रिलीज का एग्जाम्पल ये है कि शाहरुख खान नेक्स्ट फिल्म टू रिलीज ऑन August 15th नेक्स्ट ईयर. दैट्स अ प्रेस रिलीज. पूरा इन्फॉर्मेशन है, कौन डायरेक्ट कर रहा है, कौन. दैट्स अ प्रेस डॉक्यूमेंट व्हिच हैज कम योर वे. नाउ अनदर फॉर्म ऑफ प्रेस रिलीज इज this XYZ actor has beaten that ABC actor and is now the number 1 force to reckon with in the country. Or, for example, greatest on Instagram, National Crush. National Crush क्या है? National Crush is a form of PR, where you recognize that there are people who are liking that particular actress, who are talking about them, you just build them as National Crush. Which is why last year so many people were laughing that every other actress was becoming a National Crush is a PR exercise. That is a great PR. I mean, not great because we caught it. If people are catching a PR, it's not a good PR. Your PR should be so undercover that it doesn't seem like a PR, that it feels organic. That is how it should be, because then you're doing a job well. अगर तुम हर किसी को national crush कह रहे हो, अगर तुम blatantly कह रहे हो कि ये this person has beaten that actor, ये heartthrob of the nation, that's bullshit. And you're getting caught. If you look at it, people today are writing on comments, ये paid है, ये बंद करो, ये PR है, ये planted है. That's why we are going wrong. You are not doing the job well. You can't be so blatant about it. Every person, most of the Bollywood actors and filmmakers, production houses have a PR team. So it's not wrong. You need a PR team to set your narrative, to just do damage control, to see what people are writing, how can we build your brand better. Fantastic in need of the hour. But don't be so blatant about it where you're planting stuff like, that's where it goes wrong. But hey, PR it is a thing, but I think Ankit, people can smell. And today, you go on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram comments, people will be the first to notice if it's paid or organic. You just know. And you know it through the words. अगर तुम्हारा caption गड़बड़ है ना, लोग catch कर लेंगे.
Why podcasts are growing? Because these are more real and raw conversation, right? Not getting paid. Now these days are getting paid also, but not always. That's why information is getting more attention as compared to the news agencies or all.
Correct, because some of the fall of the media is the rise of PR. I think it's just coexisting. Agar it's just connected. If institutional journalism had held its ground, ये problem नहीं आती. क्योंकि एक institution रहता, कहता कि नहीं, ये बकवास यहाँ नहीं चलेंगे. हमारे रिपोर्टर सवाल पूछेंगे, हमारे एडिटर्स इसे अप्रूव करेंगे. जब वहाँ कॉम्प्रोमाइज हो गए ना, तो फिर जब टॉप कॉम्प्रोमाइज है तो बॉटम से तुम ब्रेवरी एक्सपेक्ट नहीं कर सकते आज. मतलब ये तो हो जाएगा हम मर्सिडीज में घूमेंगे बट तुम अभी भी अपनी स्कूटर को किक मारो, दैट इज अनफेयर। वो बेचारा क्या करेगा, वो तुम उसे बोल रहे हो कि तुम रिस्क लो, वो रिस्क भी क्यों ले? सो इट्स एन इंस्टीट्यूशन प्रॉब्लम। I'm not even going at PR as much as I'm going at my own fraternity. If we had, in the last few decades, I think last decade or so, if we had foundational backing, if we had good people at the top, if we didn't crumble, ये हालत नहीं होती। We crumbled and we were expecting the foot soldiers to do महानता। वो कैसे करेंगे? वो नहीं करेंगे। वो उसे बिल पे करना है, रेंट भरना है, क्योंकि you will get the access ना, lollipop you are getting. What happens, for example, if in the entertainment space, foot soldiers ये सारे काम करेंगे, they'll go on field, ask tough questions, and वो खुद बदनाम हो जाएंगे, खुद बैन हो जाएंगे. Actor will hate that reporter, PRs will hate that reporter will be hated by others around him कि इसने ये सवाल पूछ लिया, घटिया आदमी है. And then there will be, for example, a success party. Invite कौन होगा? The editor. Right. So, तुमने एडिटर को इनवाइट किया ना बिकॉज पावर, बट तुमने उस आदमी को नहीं किया बिकॉज वो सवाल पूछा. सो पॉइंट इज दिस दैट यू विल, द टॉप वंस विल स्टिल हैव द पर्क्स. सो व्हाट आर वी सेफगार्डिंग?
So my last question is going to be a little tougher one, क्योंकि मुझे जानना है कि why Mr. Khan is not giving interview anymore. Is it because of media?
No, it could be a lot of reasons. Definitely that also. Like, for example, and here again, the way media covered the entire personal tragedy of Mr. Khan is disgusting. We had people who were putting cameras between, like, under the gates of Mannat.
But why they forget the limit sometimes?
Because of views, because of I am first, because of social media, you will get traction. If you have a better footage, your channel, your page will get more views, more followers. It's just that. There's no other reason. And you will grow. The coverage of Mr. Khan's personal tragedy was disgusting. And if that is the reason why he's decided to not talk to media, fair enough. But I also feel, I mean, he did do a press conference after Pathan and Jawan. He didn't talk to media one-on-one. He has done some media interviews outside the country with some film festivals, but not here. Partly, it's also because it's a brand that I think, brand narrative that's going to work for Shah Rukh is that I don't want to be seen. Like, if you want to see Shah Rukh Khan, you see him on the biggest screen and you pay 200, 400 tickets to watch him. That works. If you want to watch Ranbir Kapoor, Ranbir doesn't do media. Ranbir doesn't get papped. He's not on social media. So every time you just feel like watching him, you will watch him only after buying that ticket, because that site is worth it. You will, यार मुझे इसको देखना है, ये तो कहीं पर भी नहीं दिखेगा तुम्हें, वो आएगा सीधा big screen पे. So it works also as a brand strategy, which is wonderful. So if Shah Rukh feels that all of this he doesn't want to be seen works in his favor, it works, and that is true. Media did play a part, did cover that tragedy dirty. And it may have been a result of that for sure, that I don't want to talk to them, or maybe I need some distance. Maybe he will 2 years later, who knows? Time does heal and changes people. But if he doesn't want to do it right now, listen, no blame there. Like, fair enough. Because what did you do to deserve that access? You had known him for 25 years, for 30 years. And the one chance that you had to sort of just stand by, to cover that incident, but
Don't you feel the media should also have a line? Which is, I can't, well, these days,
we are vultures. We are vultures. Look at, like, the way the fraternity has covered Saif Ali Khan's incident. To say that, nahi, we are vultures. That's a problem. Again, a lot of it is because social media has definitely changed the game. जहाँ पे आपको लगता है everything is for the view. It is not for the views. There is a moral compass, and you know while you're doing it कि तुम गलत कर रहे हो. There is a voice. I refuse to believe a voice नहीं है. You just know it. It's just that what is more tempting is the view. तो मैं लगता है हाँ, but views तो मिल जाएंगे ना. So then you, तुम्हारा वो ख्याल अच्छा है वाला concept है कि ठीक है, चलो ठीक है, I'll manage. I refuse to believe कि किसी का conscious ये नहीं कहेंगे नहीं यार ये ज़्यादा हो रहा है. Especially when there is a tragedy. Like, for example, how we cover funerals. It is shameful. Whenever there is a funeral, people are on top. They're fighting with the family. pushing people to get that exclusive glimpse of a dead body. How is that fair? How is that fair in any world? But that has happened because it's the game of visuals. And again, I will say here, it is not always the fault of those people who are on ground doing it. Because I've covered several Bollywood funerals, people who have passed away, and I had to be on ground. For example, Sridevi's funeral, I remember it was massive because from the bungalow to the cremation ground, her body was taken in an open truck. It was huge, crowded, etc. And the pressure that a lot of journalists had, especially TV reporters, to get exclusive visuals, right? So they would climb on top of trucks. People had already gone to some of the Juhu apartments where the truck was going to go, had requested people that can we shoot from your balcony because the pressure was there. Or Alia Bhatt's wedding, same thing. When Alia and Ranveer were getting married, the pressure was so much from the top that get exclusive that people had tried going to the apartment next doors, tried convincing the watchmen or the people if they could go to the terrace and shoot from that terrace to this one what Ranveer and Alia are doing. And it was happening in real time. These people on ground were getting the calls from their management. We need something more. अब वो बंदा वो सिचुएशन में क्या करेगा? Ideally, he shouldn't do it. I agree. But then there's job pressure. And I will, if you're blaming the reporters for doing this, sure, the bigger blame should be on those who are asking them to do it. Yeah.
Thank you, Justin, for being part of the Impact Stories. And I think it was more raw than we expected.
Thank you. Thank you, Ankit.
Thank you so much.